Now at 10, the Joplin School District prepares to test drinking water in the schools for lead. Plus, an area man shares his frustration after he says the KanCare transportation system left him stranded. And 3 Kansas City police officers are in the hospital following a shooting and police standoff. We'll have the latest.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The Joplin School District is making plans to test the safety of the drinking water in all of its school buildings. This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Dow Quick. KOAM Shagun Bamadeli has more.
This decision follows a statewide mandate signed into law by Governor Mike Parson last summer, which requires all public school districts to conduct lead testing and install filters if concentrations exceed a certain threshold.
All schools are required to test all drinking fountain outlets as well as any water outlets that could be used in cooking or cleaning dishes or anything that could possibly be ingested by students.
Plans for testing have begun.
But right now we're just all kind of inventorying and looking out there to see kind of what options we have available and from a price standpoint how much testing would cost to the district.
A local pediatrician is glad to see the testing, saying lead can be particularly hazardous for children's development.
Especially younger children are more likely to put things in their mouth, increasing their lead absorption. Lead can affect their development, it can affect their bones, it can affect their kidneys, and some of the effects of lead are long-standing.
Ardeen says the district is working on informing parents about the testing.
Our plan together is coming up with that plan to communicate with our families about what this looks like, what are the health risks and what the testing looks like. And then once we have the testing completed, then we are required to report out what those results were.
Reporting in Joplin, Shagun Bamadeli, KOAM News.
The Missouri Water Works provides water for the district and has found no trace of lead in the newer buildings. One man in Chitopa, Kansas says he's in desperate need of transportation for medical appointments. KanCare offers medical benefits like transportation to and from doctor's appointments. KanCare has a state contract with Yellow Transportation to transport patients. However, some patients are reporting the Yellow Transportation is leaving them stranded after medical appointments.
Yeah, I'm afraid to call and go up there and get any kind of test done or, looked at because I don't want to get stranded again. I mean, they might not want to help me the next time.
KOAM reached out to Yellow Transportation and KanCare, but we have not yet received a response. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us now with our first look at the weather.
Thank you very much, Dow. It was a cloudy day across the area. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s. A few showers earlier this evening down in Arkansas, skirting over into south central Missouri, but the radars are going to really light up as we go through the day tomorrow. Temperatures this evening are going to drop through the 40s all the way down into the upper 30s by tomorrow morning under mostly cloudy skies. And taking a look at February, the normal temperature is 39.4 for the entire month, and we ended up at 43.7, which is about 4.5 degrees above normal. So it ended up being the 12th warmest February on Joplin record. Looking down the lane, the warm weather is going to continue through tonight and cloudy tonight with a rain developing tomorrow evening. And then that rain may switch over to some snow on Friday morning, but a warmer weekend is in store for us as well. And I'll tell you all about that when we come back.
See you soon. Anglers in Missouri can now go fishing for trout. Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe stopped by Roaring River State Park near Cassville to kick off trout season. Roaring River State Park has hosted a trout fishing opening day event since 1928. Such a big event in Cassville, they even canceled school for it.
I mean, I remember vividly, even as a kid. My dad and I were talking this morning. I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I remember us parking right here and just fishing, trying to catch those 4 fish and getting the limit. And yeah, it's just forever. It's just been, like you said, another holiday.
Missouri State Park said there were more than 1,600 tags given for adults. For youth, more than 300. One local city park also participates in trout fishing. That's Morse Park in Neosho. This is their 4th year participating, but even before then, it was a long time in planning and clearing the banks of Hickory Creek to make it accessible. If you do plan to fish for trout, you're going to need to have a Missouri fishing license and a daily trout tag. You can find a link with details on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. The Joplin Post Art Library partnered with the Joplin Public Library for their new community read program, Joplin Reads Together. It'll include the reading of Shelby Van Pelt's Remarkably Bright Creatures. It'll also feature a community-based art exhibit titled Lost and Found, Remarkably Bright Objects. It features art created with found objects.
Well, you could have a couple different interpretations of what found art or found objects are. It could be something that you find when you're out walking along or you just randomly find somewhere, or it could be something that's an average everyday object that you turn into.
The McDonald County School District showcased their students' love for reading and passion for literature with their Gateway Luncheon. The luncheon is designed to celebrate various cultures at McDonald County High School and recognize the hard work of students who've read at least 5 of the Gateway Award books. Gateway books are nominated by Missouri students, librarians, and teachers as some of the best books out there. One student says to not give up on finding the right book.
Honestly, I feel like if you don't really like reading, you probably just haven't found a book for you. I tell that to my brother all the time because he hates reading, but I actually introduced him to this basketball series, and he really likes it because that's what he's interested in, so that's fun.
This year was a Disney-themed event. It featured special guest speakers and performers and surprise visits from Gateway authors. Southeast Kansas Arts Group is getting set for its production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. The Cherokee County Arts Association is putting on the play. Today they hosted a media night. The show is for all ages and features more than 40 performers ranging from ages 4 to 67.
It's a challenge to direct all ages, but it's one of the great things about community theater and one of the things that makes it so magical, that everyone gets to be involved together and that it can really be just an all-inclusive experience.
You can catch the performance at the James C. Christman Performing Arts Center in Galena on Friday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and on Sunday at 2:30. The Caney Valley Historical Society in Kansas wants to preserve and showcase some of the historical equipment from the city. The society has partnered with Boy Scouts to help build a cover to protect the display. Roy Schaefer, Scoutmaster of Troop 3, leading the Scouts, rescued the old fire department's hose wheel, which will be displayed as well. He says it's important to learn from the past, and this kind of project shows what the Scouts can accomplish in their leadership project.
It started out as a covering for the wagon, the rail wagon. And then when this came into existence, we discovered it and got a chance to have it. We thought it was time to expand it. So we've about doubled the size.
Organizers look to raise money for materials to build the cover. They hope to finish the project by the city's Mayfest at the end of May. Still ahead, the latest on the condition of 3 Kansas City police officers following a shooting. Plus, a fire across Mark Twain National Forest in Missouri, but not for the reasons you might think. A Southwest Missouri man accepted a plea deal to lessen his sentence in the case of a crash that killed 2 people. In June of 2018, authorities say Victor Alanis of Nixa was driving on Highway 60 at Route M in Newton County when he turned into the path of a motorcycle. Both motorcycle occupants died as a result of that crash, and a urine analysis showed that Alanis was under the influence of cannabis. Alanis pled guilty to 2 counts of second-degree involuntary manslaughter. He's sentenced to 2 4-year terms that will run at the same time and a shock therapy program for 120 days. A Joplin and Webb City, Missouri man was indicted by a federal grand jury today for drug trafficking and illegally possessing firearms. Authorities say Milan Alexander possessed fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine, all with the intent to distribute. Alexander is also charged with being a felon in possession of firearms. 3 police officers are recovering from their injuries today following an overnight shooting that happened while a search warrant was being served. A standoff followed, and that has finally come to an end as well. The Kansas City, Missouri Police Department stated the officers suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Police knocked on a door and announced their presence. SWAT officers then attempted to enter the home, but they were shot at. That standoff finally ended around 4 p.m. today.
We don't want to put our officers or anyone else in harm's way again. So that's why it took that long, is to use technology, using the video cameras and whatnot to just comb through that house, getting more and more confidence to enter the house physically.
They say a man was found dead inside the residence and that an uninjured woman was taken into custody. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Justice shared that a 50-year-old man who was arrested at the standoff last night is facing federal charges for crimes he allegedly committed in 2021. One woman and a teen are hospitalized following an early morning shooting in Springdale, Arkansas. Authorities received a call of a woman banging on their door saying she had been shot in the arm. When officers arrived, they were told the alleged shooter was inside a car nearby. Authorities say when they inspected the car, there was a man lying in the car, and when asked to show his hands, he got up and pointed a weapon at one of the officers. They say that's when the officer shot the suspect in the head. That suspect turned out to be a teen. He and the woman were both taken to the hospital, and police say the teen's injuries are life-threatening. A fire inside Mark Twain National Forest spanning thousands of acres is finally out tonight after burning most of the day. And the entire time, it was under control because it was all planned ahead of time. Reporter Marina Silva spent the day with the firefighters as they worked with Fort Leonard Wood to keep everything going according to plan.
Take a look at this fire behind me. Typically, you'd see a lot of firefighters working to put it out pretty quickly. But this fire has actually been planned. It's about 2 years in the making.
The prescribed 4,000-acre burn was a group effort between the Department of Defense, in this case Fort Leonard Wood, and Mark Twain National Forest firefighters. The goals: training for the firefighters and to get rid of many downed tree and debris so they don't have to add any fuel to a future wildfire. A lot of factors have to go into picking this day, including weather.
You can see it's a beautiful day today. It's a perfect day for prescribed burning, and people did test of the weather and what the temperatures and humidity is today, and everything's looking good, including the wind. Looks like it's going in a good direction for smoke dispersals.
People in that area won't see much smoke after today, especially with the rain coming. A little bit later, the Pitt State women's basketball team looks ahead to their MIAA quarterfinals matchup against Missouri Southern.
And we have some sun, we have some snow, and we have some warmer temperatures in our forecast. I'll have all the details when we come back. Well, it looks like March has come in like a lamb, sort of. As we start the month, cloudy skies today. Yesterday was beautiful. Right now in Seneca, Missouri, we're looking at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Mostly cloudy skies, no precipitation this evening, but that's going to be changing over the next 24 hours. This afternoon we made it up to 62 after starting out at 48. The averages are 54 and 33. And of course we weren't anywhere close to those records of 87 and 5 degrees. In anticipation of the rain coming in, we have a flood watch in effect for parts of southwestern Missouri, northwestern Arkansas, and Delaware County in Oklahoma. That goes all the way until noon on Friday when the storm system will finally pull away. Temperatures right now are generally in the 30s in some places like Neodesha with 36, and same thing in Parsons with 37. 40s elsewhere with a few 50s sprinkled in, like 52 right now in Grove. The dew points are increasing too, generally in the 30s down to the south, lower 20s up to the north, where it's still pretty dry there in Yates Center. Right now in Joplin, we're sitting at 48 degrees. The humidity is also 48%, and the dew point is 29 degrees with a northeast wind at 5 miles per hour. Here in Pittsburgh, we're looking at a northeasterly wind at 7 miles per hour, 48 degrees with a dew point of 26, so it gives us a humidity of 41%. Severe weather is a likely probability down to the south with tomorrow's storm system from basically the Metroplex all the way up to Little Rock. Lots of tornadoes expected down there. There is a marginal risk of severe weather up in our area, but the main threat is going to be the heavy rainfall, especially for our southeastern counties. And looking at the rainfall chances, they dramatically increase as we go through the day tomorrow to basically around 100% across the region. Winds are going to also be a factor too. By tomorrow evening, we'll start to see easterly winds at around 20 miles per hour. But as we go through the evening hours, look at this, by Friday morning, winds are going to be around 30 miles per hour, swirling around that upper level low and surface low. As that starts to move away, winds will turn around to the north and west and start to die off as we head towards Friday evening. And let's take a look at the forecast, break it down for you. We're expecting temperatures tonight to be in the 30s and 40s with northeasterly winds. Then the winds are going to be picking up tomorrow with scattered showers moving in from the south and west with highs in the 40s, 50s, and even some 60s down to the south. Then the rain starts to move in from the south and west, heavy at times, especially to the south and east, with lows in the 30s by Friday morning. And some of this is going to switch over to some snow, especially for our friends in southeastern Kansas and maybe even here in the metro area. Then by Friday afternoon, all that moves away. Temperatures drop into the 40s and upper 40s down to the south with northwesterly winds. Then as we go into Saturday morning, it's going to be chilly with lows in the 20s and the 30s. Rainfall amounts, again, highest down to the south where they could pick up a couple of inches. Notice back to the north and west, lighter amounts. And then if we look at the snowfall forecast, I think this model is overdoing it a little bit, but we could see some accumulation, especially grassy surfaces with maybe a dusting and maybe a hair more. Over the next 7 days, it's going to be a wild ride around here. Rain tomorrow, then maybe some snow on Friday morning, and then it gets warmer by the weekend, and then 71 by Monday with some rain, especially all next week. So it's going to be unsettled, and then maybe another chance of winter-like precipitation next Friday.
Yeah, we're bouncing around quite a bit. Thanks, Sam. Today is the opening day of the MIAA basketball tournament in Kansas City. In the men's bracket, the Missouri Southern Lions hit the floor in the first round this afternoon against Northeastern State. The winner of today's game advances to face Central Oklahoma in the tournament quarterfinals, and Missouri Southern is that winner, 70-60. Vincent Sigmund Jr. scores a team-high 21 points. The Lions move on to face Central Oklahoma at 2:15 tomorrow afternoon. In the women's bracket in Kansas City, Pitt State and Missouri Southern meet Friday in the tournament quarterfinals. It'll be the third meeting of the season between the two rivals. The Gorillas swept the Lions in the regular season. The two teams are not only fighting for a spot in the MIAA semifinals, but also looking to boost their resumes for a potential spot in the Division II national tournament.
They've got a lot to play for, we have a lot to play for, and so it just makes it tough when you have to, have these tough battles between not only individual players but programs and rivalries, and all that meets again in Kansas City, and so it makes it fun. It's what March is all about.
It's hard to beat a team 3 times, everybody knows that, but it's really exciting. I think that we get to have another rivalry game, especially at the stage we're at, and I think that's a lot of fun.
They know us like the back of their hand, and we've done a lot of work on them, and so and we both have, again, 4 days to prep for each other, and so it'll be, I'm sure, another one for the ages.
And that is a look at today's top sports headlines. Coming up, the killer of Robert F. Kennedy looks for parole. We'll have the decision. And tens of millions of Americans see their SNAP benefits cut today. How this could affect food banks all across the country. The man who killed Senator Robert F. Kennedy in 1968 was denied parole for 3 years today. That's according to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Sirhan Sirhan was also denied release in 2022 by California Governor Gavin Newsom after the parole board recommended parole in August of 2021. The 78-year-old was sentenced to death in 1969 for the murder of Senator Kennedy, but that sentence was later commuted to life with the possibility of parole. Congress brought in some key drug and medical officials to discuss the fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl is the leading cause of death for Americans ages 18 to 45. The drug is often manufactured in China and then processed in Mexico before being smuggled into the U.S. 30 million people across 32 states and 3 U.S. territories, including in Missouri and Arkansas, saw their SNAP benefits cut today. This is after Congress allowed the pandemic-era assistance to expire. Residents in 18 states lost the extra money last month. Reporter Danya Bacchus has details, including the strain it's expected to put on some food banks.
Leticia Brito is wondering how she's going to feed her family.
Too much, too much for me right now.
She's one of about 30 million Americans whose additional food stamp benefits expired on Wednesday.
What is really worrying me right now is having a cut down on the food that I'm gonna have to buy so I can have enough money to pay my rent.
During the pandemic, Congress allowed recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, to receive the maximum monthly amount. That helped keep an estimated 4 million people out of poverty. With things going back to normal, benefits are down by at least $95 and potentially more than $250 for others.
But we haven't fully realized the impact that it's going to have on the community.
Julie Butner runs the Tarrant Area Food Bank in North Texas. With food prices up more than 11% from a year ago, resources are stretched thin to serve those in need.
So we have already started reducing the amount of food that we're giving to families because we can't afford to give families the same amount of food that we were giving them at the height of the pandemic.
Anti-hunger advocates suggest SNAP recipients look into the Women, Infants, and Children program, which offers similar benefits. Danya Backus, CBS News.
The Department of Agriculture says SNAP benefits are declining by an average of $82 per month. However, the amount should be higher than pre-pandemic levels because the Biden administration increased benefits by 25% in 2021. And that is a look at today's top national stories. A final check of the forecast next. You need to stay with us tomorrow. Stay in touch with our weather department because we're looking at the possibility of some storms tomorrow night.
That's right. Storms producing some heavy rainfall, so this would be a good time to download our KOAM news app. But rain tomorrow, and then maybe mixing over with some snow Friday morning. Wouldn't be surprised to see that, and then unsettled next week.
Don't forget the morning show starts at 5 a.m. Let's make it a great tomorrow.